It's Friday. You know what that means.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 355 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The F and Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
I am the brainless one. And Cousin Jay, what a freaking week to come back after such a marathon episode last week of predictions and nonsense. And we had ourselves WrestleMania.
Yes.
Let's start with that. Let's get into the meat of it, because last weekend was WrestleMania, and I know for a fact, I said this last year, but I'm going to say it again this year. This was, without question, the greatest WrestleMania I have ever seen.
It really is hard to not agree with that. The fact that we have it now over 2 days, gives you a little bit more. The fact that they had a good portion of, the main event story fed from night 1 into night 2. They did a lot of things to build, like, night 1 was the stepping stone to the Avengers Endgame that we got at night 2.
Ish.
Yeah. So it really is hard to disagree with that assessment, as much as there were some people complaining about night 1. But if you look at it as a whole, as a story arc between the 2 nights, it was fantastic. How of all the WrestleManias out there, thinking back to let's say one of your favorites, WrestleMania 17, right?
Right.
Tables, ladders, and chairs. You remember that, right?
Oh yeah.
What other matches do you remember specifically from that card?
Oh, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event.
Do you remember anything else?
Didn't Triple H fight The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell?
That was not Hell in a Cell, but they did have a match. And
I'm sorry.
Beat the hell out of each other around the arena.
No, that's what it was. They beat the shit out of each other out of the arena. When he went for the last ride is when he clocked him with the sledgehammer.
Right. Anything beyond that?
The gimmick battle royal.
And then beyond that, I'm sure you're like, so if you come out of WrestleMania and they're like, oh, there are only 3 really good stories. I'm sorry, you cannot have 14 great stories going into WrestleMania. Some of them are going to bubble to the top. I'm going to say specifically this year with WrestleMania, over half of them were really good stories. Most of them were really good stories. Sami Zayn and Gunther was not a great story. What we had with Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar and Dominic and
Andrade.
That was not well built.
No.
The stuff they did with the Street Profits in the final, whatever they are, they've been building that up. But to be fair, both of them are 2 loser factions at this moment. They're 2 loser factions. All they do is lose.
Wrong. Didn't you see it at night 2 of WrestleMania? Clearly, Bobby Lashley was a winning faction because they won on Sunday. Because we all know that Karrion Kross can't win, and now he's back down in NXT. I'm shocked. It's crazy because you're right. They didn't need all these storylines. Because even think about last year. Does everybody remember everything that happened at last year's WrestleMania 39?
We know that Cody and Roman Reigns had a match.
And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens fought the Usos in the main event of night 1. And we know that kind of
Charlotte and Rhea. We know that there was a triple threat match for the IC strap.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember every match from WrestleMania last year? Hell, there's WrestleManias from 15, 20 years ago. I couldn't name one match from. How can it?
But the fact that we had a lot of good storylines,
yeah,
a lot of them got paid off in some way, shape, or form. It was awesome. It was awesome in every way.
It was such good shit, pal.
Even with as cold as it was on night one, it was a freaking blast. I don't know how it came out on TV. I only watched part of night one on television after, having been there in person. And I can tell you from where I was sitting, the crowd was lively. And there was a lot of noise in that stadium. It maybe have not translated onto the television. And oh, by the way, when you hear the announcer saying, yeah, it was freaking cold last night, when you hear Triple H saying, yeah, it was freaking cold last night, it was. I mean, it was in like the 40s with a 15-mile-an-hour sustained wind with gusts over that. So it was definitely chilly, but the crowd, at least in my view, was loud and lively basically throughout the night. When the main event happened, we knew it was going to be like this slow burn because they started off things slow. I'm like, okay, they're going to ramp this thing up. Similar to what, Rhea and Charlotte did last year, where it was like this slow ramp up to craziness. But I just have to say, The Rock's entrance night one was my favorite thing. It was so good.
It must have been so cool for you seeing that in person too, because honestly, like this new Rock entrance has been so badass. I actually like if I'm in the bathroom washing my hands, I'm running to the TV if I hear that if you smell it, it's that good. It is such a great remix. And considering the fact that a lot of these entrances have been getting shittier, we can get into the AJ Styles one in a bit, but I think that his whole presentation, I can only imagine what it was like there live, because just seeing it on TV as it's happening is just incredible. And just to add like the 70-something thousand people to that must have been an incredible moment. I have to ask you.
Yes.
Was there anything from night one that stood out the most for you that you're like, damn, I picked the right night to be here?
I mean, quite honestly, it definitely was The Rock being there and The Rock being involved in those things. But as far as stuff that, like, I'm like going, well, damn, like, I have to go with Sami Zayn beating Gunther. I did not expect that. And just, I have some issues overall with the storytelling involved in this, but by and large, I was like, holy shit, they took the title off Gunther.
And it's crazy too, because I even figured out, like, after they happened, I said, I know exactly how they can, like, kind of write this in there to kind of build, like, a storyline for Gunther. Gunther's gone through and ripped through everybody in the mid-card as the Intercontinental Champion for the last, ironically, 666 days. So they bring in Sami Zayn, and people are like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Well, if you think about it, on the grand scheme of things, Sami Zayn is a WrestleMania main eventer. Granted, it was in a tag team match, but he was a main eventer nonetheless. The pay-per-view before WrestleMania last year, he main evented against Roman Reigns and wrestled against Roman for the title.
Yep.
Sami Zayn, in my book, is one of those guys that, okay, we saw where you were in the main picture. You're a mid-card guy. You're kind of like the hybrid who can bounce into the main event when we need you to, but you're very just as good in the mid-card. He's a main event guy. You couldn't beat him.
King Kong Bundy in WrestleMania 2 to WrestleMania 3. I'm
just saying, this is just like, yeah, poor King Kong Bundy. Damn. But to think about this, like, Sami Zayn is a very viable person because, like I said, he's a main event caliber guy. You can use it as a way to, like, all right, Gunther, you lost to Sami Zayn. That's a main event caliber guy. Are you sure you're a main event caliber guy? Because you're beating all the mid-card guys.
Well, and the thing with that, Gunther had Sammy beat.
Yes, he did.
And it was his pride that allowed Sammy back into the match. He felt he needed to taunt Sammy's wife and felt the need to keep on doing a maneuver that he doesn't do that often. He did almost as many superflies as the Macho Man did elbows to the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7.
To be fair, that was the move that beat Pete Dunne for the NXT UK Championship.
Yeah?
Yeah? I enjoyed that. And that wasn't even the best when it came to somebody's pride and ego getting in the way. Because once we get into night 2, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because unlike WrestleManias in the past, both nights, I know they've only been doing this for a few years, but both nights hit. Both nights were fantastic. Both nights were entertaining. I was thoroughly entertained the entire night. The tag team match was crazy. I loved it. Yeah. It was all right, maybe not very reminiscent, but it was almost reminiscent of my favorite TLC match from WrestleMania 17. It was that good. You know, Becky with her 102-degree temperature, battling strep throat, and still gutting it out against Mommy for the World Championship. Yes, it might not have been the prettiest match, but you know what? Considering that, that's no different than Michael Jordan's flu game.
You know, and just for me, somebody who was there live in attendance, you know, some botches that may have happened or stuff that wasn't as crisp as it could have been, guess what? I didn't see most any of that. Like, quite literally, like, it was like, yeah, that looked freaking awesome.
My favorite one of those was in the Sammy Gunther match where when Sammy hit the brain buster on the turnbuckle and everybody was like, "Oh, Sami Zayn made a botch, nobody's talking about it," and all the people online are like, "That's actually like the whatever the notes."
It was meant to do that.
Yeah, that was meant to do it. It's like this is a move that Sami Zayn has done years ago, but he doesn't do it because the pile driver was banned for so many years, and now they're getting a little bit more lax on some of these rules. Sure. So now we're going to see crazy shit like this, which is I'm all for it.
And I don't think we're going to see it a lot. I think it's going to be done
sporadically
in rare instances to make it more impactful, whether it's a brain buster or whether it's a pile driver. Jessica, Chris, Tim, thanks for tuning in. Always appreciate y'all. Chris Brown saying, welcome to the weekly What the F is Wrong with Tony Khan.
Well, I can't wait
to get to that later on.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. It's TISM time for the Brainless one later on. But honestly, night 1 was just incredible. Even the women's the 6-woman tag match was just exceptional. They did everything they could to make Jade look like a star. I love the presentation that they did with all 3 of them, with Naomi and Bianca and with Jade. Just the way that they presented them, they all look like stars. And coming from me about Naomi looking like a star, she looked like a star.
On top of the fact that I think they had them up higher than Wade Barrett. When Bad News Barrett used to be high up on that podium and they put him on that hydraulic, when they did, as Damage Control was in the ring, all of a sudden I see 3 people on a thing and they just start raising them up. I'm like going, because I wasn't sure if they were going to come out individually or if it was going to be all 3 of them. And I'm like going, oh, damn, this is going to be good. Like, yeah. I would have, if I was one of those women, I would have probably pissed and crapped myself. how high they were up there, and the fact that it was windy out there, I would have been like, no. But they sat there and they had poise, and it looked freaking awesome in the stadium. It was, after The Rock, that was probably my favorite entrance of night 1.
Oh, it was mine too. Absolutely was mine. I loved it. That was my first thought was all 3 of them were presented like stars. Bianca obviously is a star, and her star just keeps getting brighter. Jade's star is just about to get bigger because it's just getting started. And Naomi, again, coming from me, Naomi looked like a star on Saturday, and I appreciated the fact that they did that because it made it feel like a bigger deal. It made the match feel important, and I love the fact that they got that win, and they deserve to win that match. I'm sorry, they did.
And oh, by the way, like that's another one of the matches that didn't really have a great storyline, but sometimes you don't necessarily need a great storyline to have a great match. I mean,
Yep.
Brett still talks about how he felt the buildup between him and Stone Cold into WrestleMania 13 was terrible. He said it didn't make any sense to him, but you know that's what Vince wanted to do because originally it was supposed to be Brett versus Shawn in a rematch for the heavyweight championship, and they went in a different direction. And Brett ends up having, you know, what's still considered probably a top 10 match in WrestleMania history, if not, you know, top 5.
Oh, geez, they've never said that about Bret Hart before. He only has the greatest opening match in WrestleMania history, and now we've had 40-something of them now because you have 2 nights at WrestleMania.
Right.
Greatest curtain jerker of all time. Second greatest was Sheamus and Daniel Bryan, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I honest to goodness, like, night 1 was great. My only gripe that I had, for night 1,
probably the same gripe I'll have,
was the underwhelming performance by Jimothy and JJ Uso. I expected a hell of a lot more than what we got. It was like when you open up a bottle of soda and you take a glass of it and then forget about it in the fridge for a week and then you open it. That's how flat that was.
And it's kind of the juxtaposition of that match was built really well and was like a fart in church. Like, as far as the crowd was actually pretty into it in the stadium. Right?
Yeah.
But after the first, like, 4 or 5 minutes, I'm like, what's this? WWE Young Bucks? Like, if them and the Young Bucks went against each other in a tag team match, I mean, over under on if we get 150 super kicks.
Ooh, could we add Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to that equation and double the amount for the over under and still take the over? Because if all 6 of those guys are in a match together, I guarantee 7,000 super kicks. That's all there's going to be, super kicks.
And it was a great moment when they were, you know, instead of, you know, punching each other, ooh, ah, that they were doing kicks. I thought that was good, but it's like the main weapon was just a super kick. It's not a super kick anymore. It's just a kick.
I feel bad for gentleman Chris Adams.
Yes. His was a super kick. Shawn Michaels had a super kick.
No. See, Shawn Michaels is excluded from this because Shawn Michaels does not have a super kick. Shawn Michaels has sweet chin music. There's a big difference between just doing a super kick and tuning up the band before you give somebody a super kick. So,
yeah,
in this situation, Shawn is fine in all this. I feel bad for him, but not as much as Chris Adams. And it's because of Shawn Michaels that people like the douchebag Bucks, they're going to over-abuse the shit out of it because I've said it before and I'll say it again. They both wanted to be Shawn Michaels when in actuality, they're both Marty Jannetty. And I don't remember if Marty Jannetty actually used the super kick as his finishing move. I can't tell you a moment that Marty Jannetty was in a wrestling ring. The only thing I can remember from Marty Jannetty was teaming up with Leif Cassidy and diving through the pane glass window of the barbershop. That's it. And get beaten up by Akeem. And if you think of trash, think of Akeem. But, like, yeah, it was very underwhelming. I expected more. The fact that they were like, this is my dream match. I've been dreaming for this moment to wrestle my brother at WrestleMania. This is the biggest WrestleMania that you have. I'm sorry, Usos. You guys are a wonderful, wonderful tag team. You're my favorite tag team of the modern era right now. But that was just a stinker. I'm not going to say that it deserved the 3/4 star rating that Dave Meltzer gave it. It was not the worst. Theory and Cena was worse last year. in my opinion. There was a hell of a lot worse matches than that last year. And not just last year, but all time. I'm just saying, it wasn't the worst match. It was just very underwhelming for what I expected.
Mm.
I mean, it was the worst match of the night, but it was, you know what I mean.
Tim in the chat saying he thought the placement of the match, it hurt it a lot and believed it should have opened one of the nights.
I said it. I said you can't find a better two people to kick off. That's the ultimate curtain jerker. They should have set the tone of the weekend. Nothing against Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. I'm guessing that if it wasn't for Becky pulling a Charlotte and whipping her dick out, that we would have gotten Jimmy and Jay in the opening match of night one. And I understand why they did the way they did for night two, the way they started it, because actually, no, I don't. I don't understand why they couldn't give Seth a little bit more of a break. He was in the main event, got his ass kicked, got the smacketh down laid on him by The Rock, the final boss, the people's champ.
There was a guy behind me during basically the entire last match. He kept on going, the final boss, just like The Rock did in the promo. And like the first 10 times he did it, I was like, hey, that's funny. And then by the time he got to the 50th time he said, I was like, I'm trying to watch the damn match.
Pal.
Jerk.
But,
even so, Tim, though, even if they improved the match placement, they radically underperformed.
Yeah.
They just kicked each other.
It's exactly what I envisioned a match between Nicholas and Matthew to go, where they just super kick each other until they get tired and die. Sorry. I'm not sorry. But yeah, honestly, other than that, the rest of the card was great. All the other 12 matches hit for me. That was the only match that was ugh.
Ugh.
I was
even the match with the Street Profits. That was a fun match. It was what it was. It was not the cleanest match I've ever seen, but I was sports entertained the hell.
You know what match I really loved was the tag team match with Andrade and Rey versus Dominic and Santos Escobar.
Because it was a really good match.
It was a good match, and not that I was surprised because Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. Andrade can have a match with just about anybody. Dom's not terrible, and Escobar can go.
Yeah.
But the fact that you added Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson, I shit myself when Jason Kelsey took his mask off. Shit myself because I said I cannot believe Jason Kelsey's actually here. Of all the things that I've said on this podcast, we get Jason Kelsey to appear at WrestleMania.
He never got a true goodbye to Philadelphia after all those years in professional football. He got to go off on a better note in front of the Philly fans.
I think we have not seen the last of Jason Kelsey in the WWE ring.
When George Kittle retires, he and Kittle and Kelsey.
Kelsey and no, never mind. I'm going to stop right here.
Mike Rainey's saying he was underwhelmed with the 6-woman tag match. I thought that match was exactly what it needed to be.
They told a great story.
So, but
I enjoyed it.
I mean, it wasn't Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21, but it was really good.
Yeah.
Again, for what it needed to be, that I thought it was fine. It made Jade look like a star, and we'll see how far her star rises.
Yeah.
But
I'm excited for her future too.
But I do have to say a few things about the Sammy and Gunther match. I have long talked about how I dislike when somebody takes an absolute beating and then all of a sudden, kind of acts like nothing happened. But the thing is, despite all of that, I found myself cheering for Sami Zayn, even though I'm going, Only Hulk Hogan can do that, right? Only Hulk Hogan could do that. Only the Ultimate Warrior could do that, right?
From the heavens above. through the powers to be.
Right. All that being said, there's something about the way he does it, and Triple H said it very well in the press conference. Sammy knows how to get emotions out of people. And just the way that, they were telling the Rocky III storyline.
Yeah.
And they were using the fact that Chad Gable was like the trainer. He was the Apollo Creed in this whole thing. But the fact that like Sammy had taken multiple power bombs, had taken all of Gunther's best things, had been given the Gunther version of a frog splash, it looked more like he was base jumping. And, he base jumped on him like, what was it, 4 times or 3 times or 4 times? And when he went up for the last one, then Sammy starts like going crazy. I was getting into it, even though I'm like going, the logic in my brain says, no, this should not be happening. But I found myself going, yes, Sammy, finish the story. Finish Chad's story. It should have been Chad Gable.
I know that it should have been Chad Gable, but there's not a human being on planet Earth that's pissed off that Sami Zayn's Intercontinental Champion.
No, absolutely not. But this was Chad Gable's story. Like, if you wanted to have the best story and still have a killer match, you could have done with that. I understand it's WrestleMania and you want the bigger names in the spotlight. And Sami is a bigger name than Chad Gable. Chad Gable, as far as an in-ring performer, like he and Sami, like you're not going to do wrong with either of them.
No.
But all that being said, I was like going, I can't believe I just saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting Gunther to hold the title at least until they got to Berlin. But I mean, they could make it so Gunther goes against, the new heavyweight champion. And he could have a heavyweight title match out there, or he could have a rematch for the Intercontinental title and make the Intercontinental title the main event out in Germany. There are a lot of ways they could go about this, but as much as I was like, this was Chad Gable's storyline that they more or less just said, hey, Sami, tag in, and let Sami finish the story. But they told a heck of a story in the ring, and I did enjoy the heck out of the match, even though they did a thing that like I normally like get fired up about, like going, damn it, that takes me out of the match. It didn't, like it did for like a moment, but like just being in that crowd and like, loved it.
Such good shit. And honestly, like I said, night one was good. You mentioned whoever the world heavyweight champion is. Does that mean we should start getting into night 2? Or is there anything from night 1?
We have to talk about the GOAT.
You have to be a moment. We have to be a little bit more specific. With me, there's like 8 million of them.
We have to talk about the GOAT that won a tag team championship.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I love the fact that last week, I even said it right here, the tag team ladder match is going to be used to get the belts back on respective shows, which means 2 different champions for each show, or a different champion for each show. Boy, did they really swerve the shit out of everyone. After Dave Meltzer said, even with Theory and Waller winning, they are going to find a way to get them out of the match, and they ended up winning the tag team titles. Which was such a swerve that nobody saw it. But at the end of it, the whole thing with R-Truth in that match, waiting for the hot tag to get into this. How is this man, you know what? When they put him in the Hall of Fame, he's the only one that goes in. There's nobody else that's going to give a Hall of Fame induction speech that deserves the length of an entire class by itself or as impactful as the one that R-Truth would tell. And that moment with him and just that match was just incredible. And that moment was just crazy. Considering R-Truth was 0-7 at WrestleMania heading into this, it's hard to not be happy for him and Mike Mizanin after that win on Saturday. Saturday.
And I'll just say, in the stadium, one of the loudest we got was when R-Truth wanted the hot tag.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I don't know if it came through on television.
Oh, it did.
Like, we got really loud when he wanted the hot tag.
That was, honestly, that was one of the loudest moments from night one, was when R-Truth was getting that hot tag. And I'm like, what is he going to do? He's going to do something silly and crazy because it's R-Truth. And he didn't disappoint. And I'm so happy because there really isn't two people in WWE I like more than him and The Miz. And they both deserve this moment.
Yeah.
What's up?
Now, the flip side of that, I have a theory that they got the two douchebags to be the champions of the other show. I actually am okay with this because both of them are heat magnets. They still need to work on their game a bit, but it's like, I'm going to enjoy watching those two douchebags get crowds fired up. The fact that WWE keeps on downsizing their production to bring in larger crowds means more people booing at these two jackasses. And they're doing their jobs right in being jackasses. This is not, this is an X-Pac heat. This isn't like, get the hell out of here. We don't want to see you. It's like, we want somebody to beat the hell out of you and shut you the hell up.
Grayson Waller is one of my favorites. I don't want to hear any slander. He deserves to be champion. He deserves all the accolades. He is absolutely killing it as a heel. Coming out on Wednesday and tweeting, Theory and I really need to make a name for ourselves. We're going to still go backstage and start beating up all of our co-workers. And Dijak's like, it's real. I saw the real glass and everything. Oh, man. I'm on board with this. I mean, that was really the only thing that I was like, okay, I got the understanding why they did it. They've been really high on Theory and on Waller. I've been enjoying Waller's work the last few months. He's absolutely killing it. Saying that, I still can't get over it. He said that Taylor Swift was a 6. That might have been that was it. That was the moment for me with him. But
all right, very important question for you, Cousin Bobby. Tim asks or says in the chat he would like to rename X-Pac Heat to Young Buck Heat.
Done.
Okay. All right.
I will have memes this weekend. I started doing some of them. I kind of got distracted. And spoiler alert, it has everything to do with what happened on Wednesday. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yes.
Just ran out of time before I could finish them. I was hoping to post them before the podcast, but I will have them posted tomorrow.
Yeah.
The Brainless guarantee.
Yeah.
Which means all 7 billion of my brain cells are going to be so stoned that we're all going to forget about posting the me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it time to get into night 2?
Yeah, I think so. I think we hit on most of the main things here.
And anything, if we need to add stuff, when we talk about Roman and Cody later on, we can mention anything from Seth and The Rock and their match, with the tag team match at the main event.
Sure.
But I'm sorry, I really wanted to get to night 2.
Sure. We know what happened at the end of the tag team match. We knew that was going to happen. And it played out awesome. All 4 entrances of all those guys on night 1 was really good. So, and then Seth outdoing himself on night 2.
I love the fact that Punk was on commentary. I love the fact that when Drew came out, he trolled CM Punk. CM Punk's favorite wrestler of all time is Roddy Piper. The fact that they played Roddy Piper's, and I said it too, I said, That's not just some generic song. That is Roddy Piper's thing. He is trolling Punk. And then Seth Rollins comes and does his little extravagant entrance with I forget what they said the people were, but he had that very, very interesting attire.
I'll just call them the Philadelphia Oompa Loompas.
Oompa doompa doopity dum. I got another riddle and it's dumb. What do you do when you fight Drew Mac? You get hit with a claymore. Now, almost got a 3 count. He tried it. He took a page from the Sheamus playbook and he claymored the shit. I was like, oh my God, they did it. When he hit him with the claymore, and I was like, they did it. I was convinced. I was like, it's Sheamus 2.0. And then they just beat the shit out of each other. And Punk is just on commentary. And then you get to the point where Drew is there and Punk is saying commentary so loud that Drew can hear him, getting under Drew's skin.
My favorite part of this match, though, was when you see Drew go over to his wife and then takes the phone and you see him messing around with the phone after he takes a picture of it and posts it. Find out that he posted it to X saying, bored at work.
LOL. and then when he did Jay, I'm sorry. He did it. He hit the second Claymore at the end. He finally took out Rollins. He goes and he has his moment, winning the championship. He shows the title to his wife. And he goes to leave, but instead of leaving, and I said, it's going to happen. I knew it was going to happen because he was taking too long for this moment. I said, they're not just going to milk this just for the sake of milking it. Some kind of chicanery is happening. And then when he went over there and he started taunting CM Punk, I said, oh, yeah. I said, here it is, right on my list. Number 10. Priest cashes in on Drew after Punk attacks Drew as retaliation. I know I said for unnecessary Claymore. I just needed a reason to piss off CM Punk enough to cost Drew McIntyre the title, and that's exactly what we got. We got one of the greatest rug pulls of all time. Dropped him, ripped off the cast, clotheslined him with the cast, beating the shit out of Drew McIntyre. Then the spooky music comes on. I lost my shit. I jumped off the couch. I was so excited. I wanted to see Damian Priest cash in so bad. He came over there running out there with the briefcase. He fucking drilled Drew McIntyre with the thing. Cashed it in. Threw him into the ring. Hit his version of the choke slam. And now the Bytaker is the new world heavyweight champion thanks to CM Punk. So now tell me, Young Bucks, tell me fans of the Elite, tell me fans of AEW, how many of CM Punk's coworkers hate him? Because I can guarantee you this, Damian Priest isn't one of them.
Mike Rainey, Drew McIntyre, it's definitely unsure of if he's signed a new deal or not. If you've heard that he has a handshake deal up until, he finishes a feud with Punk, that means like he's going to be around for at least a little while longer. And if they haven't signed him to an extension, that at least extends the window of them being able to negotiate something else, because Punk probably will not be ready until, I'm going to guess, SummerSlam-ish. And that Punk during interviews kind of said, this is healing faster than the other one did. He actually said in the Ariel Helwani interview, he's like, hey, if this was just me, I'd probably tape this thing up and go out there and wrestle, but they're saving me from me. He felt that good with his arm, at least, and we're talking only, 2.5 months after he had undergone surgery. So it's possible he could be back earlier, but why rush him back on, a not quite as big show? Now, if you want to have him show up in Berlin, because I believe that's in June, all right? You're in a new territory that you have not had a premium live event at. That perfectly fine. I don't think we're going to see him when they do Backlash in 3.5 weeks in Paris, but I think it's possible he could be ready for Berlin. But I think they'll hold off until SummerSlam to have him and Drew. It only makes sense. Second biggest show of the year. Have that match then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and they can avoid having Punk come back for the Berlin show. It's SummerSlam, like you said, it's the biggest show of the summer, the moniker, and it's going to be a lot of fun because those two are going to have an absolute war once Punk gets back.
And the war of words is going to be great. Punk is much better thinking on his feet as far as doing promos. But if you want to talk about somebody who thinking things out and not having to be quite as quick on the draw, Drew McIntyre is a solid promo and can verbally spar with, a lot of people. He did okay against Punk, but quite honestly, it's like Drew was much better being the troll on the internet to get under Punk's skin.
Yeah, I agree.
But he took his trolling to the next level.
I just want to say how happy I am for Damian Priest. This is such a great moment for him. Everything that he's done for this company, the fact that he carried Bad Bunny in that Backlash match, the fact that he carried Bad Bunny, and not to say that Bad Bunny was a bad performer. Bad Bunny, again, has an open invite to any wrestling match, and the Brainless one's going to watch it, and I don't say that about a lot of celebrities. Logan Paul is another one that's in that class, too. But everything that he has done, everything that happened with the Spooky Pals over the last 2 years, how it went from Edge's stable with just Rhea and him to this becoming the moment where they were all celebrating with him after his win. Such a great moment. Happy for Damian Priest. Absolutely happy for him. He deserves this moment. And I hope it's not one of those where he's Bob Backlund and holds the title for 11 days.
And then the celebration on Monday.
We have all the bells and our truth holds up the Just give that man every award. He needs an Emmy. Why was he not won an Emmy yet?
So he was very prominent on the Slammy Awards. It was Biggie and I think Kathy Kelly were the ones who were the MCs of it, but they had R-Truth in the audience as like the correspondent. I just have to say that the Slammies overall were a bit of a television production mess. But all that being said, R-Truth made it all better. I mean, we did get a victory speech out of a couple of them out of CM Punk, who won like Return of the Year and OMG Moment of the Year. Cody Rhodes brought home a lot of hardware. He has now surpassed Owen, the King of Hearts, for Slammies. So,
yeah,
and Rhea cleaned house too.
I heard LA Knight won for catchphrase.
Yeah,
is that because Christian Cage wasn't eligible like he was for the Marquee Awards?
Yeah,
where he won it for Go Fuck Yourself. Oh man, that's such good shit.
We don't deserve Christian Cage or R-Truth.
No, we really don't. And I don't know if you've seen that Hall of Fame yet. I did watch the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Please do yourself a favor. I know you're boycotting it. Watch Heyman.
Now, the man who deserved... I have completely softened my stance. I have not gone and watched it yet. The man who gets my ire is no longer in the company and is selling off shares quicker than he craps on women.
Hey, pal.
So I may lift the ban since we now have Triple Paul in charge of this and righting some of the wrongs of the past. and hopefully not being so damn petty about who gets in, who doesn't get in. I mean, Demolition needs to be in the next couple of years. I don't want to have dead Demolition get into the Hall of Fame.
Agreed.
I want them while they're alive.
I want Rick Martel in too.
Yeah.
Lex Luger.
Do it while these people are alive. I know that Martel has gotten out of the business. Lex Luger, in a wheelchair. But, hey, I mean, Lex has quite the story. I'm sure he wouldn't mind telling it. Martel, I'm sure, would be more than happy to accept a Hall of Fame induction. He's more than worthy.
And, of course, the greatest omission of them all, they're just lucky that they put 2 celebrities in the last 2 years that have not completely destroyed my ire. But Cyndi Lauper should be in.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm not mad that Muhammad Ali is. I am not mad that he is in. He is well deserving of being in it. The referee for WrestleMania 1, he wrestled Antonio Inoki. He wrestled the Giant Baba. He was responsible for the 300,000 seat attendance of the greatest wrestling show attendance. Not the stupid Wembley show, you fucking jackass young bucks. The 300,000 seat show that they did in North Korea was because of Muhammad Ali. Obviously well deserving. I have no problem with it. But Cyndi Lauper needs to go in next year.
Sure.
I cannot stress this enough. The Rock and Wrestling would not have been the Rock and Wrestling without Cyndi Lauper.
All right.
And I would go on a hunger strike, but you and I know that would last like 2 hours.
Right.
Because I'm actually kind of hungry now.
So another thing that happened on night 2 that we did not get into, and it was actually the first thing that happened officially in night 2.
Stephanie McMahon.
Stephanie McMahon made a triumphant return to the company, even if it was for just a moment. If you hear Triple H at the end of night 2 during the press conference, he sounded like, she will be back in some way, shape, or form. I'm guessing not back full-time doing company work, but I'm guessing we're going to see more of her as an ambassador of some kind, because I believe Triple H thinks that there needs to be a McMahon that, will not tarnish, the company. So
she's a great ambassador for the company too, because she's done so much for them.
She has, and as much as, she is allegedly one of the people in the documents that may have had at least a little bit of interaction with Janelle Grant. It actually sounds like she kind of knew that her dad was a predator and say, maybe you should sit over here. Like, to me, that doesn't sound like she did something bad.
Just like Triple H said in the same press conference, Brock Lesnar is still a part of WWE. He's just sitting at home.
But, I wouldn't mind seeing Stephanie back in a limited role. Again, just to carry the McMahon name from a company that, has been in the McMahon family for, 7 decades, 8 decades at this point. So it was good seeing her. She was fired up. Triple H kind of sounded like she was unsure of what kind of reaction she would get. I'm glad the fans gave her a big round of applause, and,
she deserved it.
She did her thing, as much as when Vince resigned and we heard all those things about Vince originally, and she led the thank you Vince chant, and
sometimes you got to do what you got to do to appease the wrong person, just because you have no choice.
Yeah. So it was good to see Stephanie, and I want to see more of her. Whether or not we will, I think it's, quite honestly, it sounds like it's on Stephanie how much she wants to be back.
Right. I like to see her back just because it's always fun when she's on the TV. And she is one of 3 members of the McMahon family I've seen live. Her, Shane, and Vince McMahon, the ones I have not seen Linda, surprisingly. Sad.
Yeah.
But, another thing that happened that night wasn't just the world title match. We also had gotten the triple threat United States Championship match between the GOAT Randy Orton, the piece of shit Logan Paul, and the captainess of Captain Cupcakes, Captain Cupcake.
Before you get into that, I just want to say that Damian Priest did come out and say he has just signed an extension with WWE, and he didn't say how long, but I'm assuming multiple years. You know, he's 41 years old, but hitting his stride right now. Good for him after overcoming being a homeless dude and working his tail off to get where he is. He earned that contract. He earned that world title.
Not bad for a guy who's 41 and hitting his stride. I'm going to be 41 in less than a week, and I haven't hit my stride. I don't think I'll ever hit my stride. And if I did, I must have did it when I was in my 20s, when I was absolutely eviscerating my liver.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, the
triple threat U.S. title match.
If there was a match that was kind of underwhelming on night 2, it was the triple threat United States Championship match. I expected a little bit more. It was not terrible, but I hate the fact that Logan Paul's doing this stupid shit with the brass knuckles all the time. Come on. It was cool when Regal did it because it was Regal and he was dastardly. Not like the dastardly Voldemort. But it worked for Regal. And Regal didn't use it all the time. It seems like now every time we get Logan Paul, oh great, now we get the Nux. Great. Stop me if you've seen this one. Why don't you just go work for AEW? Oh wait, that's right, you can't because you're better than 90% of the roster in AEW, so you got to go to WWE. But honestly, it was underwhelming until we got the moment because you knew they were teasing something with the Prime bottle. You knew they were teasing something with the Prime bottle because they kept showing it in the shot. I said, this is going to end so stupidly. Whoever it is, I was hoping it was somebody really stupid. Not somebody I had no idea who the hell it was. Whoever it was, I literally, for the first time in my life, I witnessed somebody literally shit their pants on national television. As he is, and then Randy Orton killed him. The guy died on the top of the broadcast table. And then Logan Paul ended up winning the match. I'm shocked.
If Logan Paul was going to lose the match, I would have wanted that to be Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson went in the ring and punched out Logan Paul. But it was not to be. Oh, well. But, I mean, all of us knew Logan Paul was leaving WrestleMania with that title. Let's be fair. Let's be fair. Oh, I was not as underwhelmed by that triple threat match. I thought it was a solid match. I thought that, like, you know, the pacing was a little bit clunky here and there in it. And they could have done a little bit better with the pacing. But the end of the match, I thought, you know, sold it well. The fact that we got like 20,000 RKOs made up, you know, for the flatness of some of the other parts of the match. Like, I didn't think it was a bad match at all. It was not like a top 5 triple threat match of all time, but it was a solid match for, you know, a secondary title. You know, you got Logan Paul in there with 2 guys who, say what we will, 2 Hall of Famers.
Yes, one of them in the WWE Hall of Fame and the other one in the Hostess Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Or the Little Debbie's Hall of Fame. Or the Tasty Cake Hall of Fame. Or the Snacks and Sweets Hall of Fame. But he's not going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
The Hostess Heroes will be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I can't wait to mention the other Hostess hero because he's coming up later in the podcast.
Yes, he is.
I can't wait. But yeah, I agree. Only so many RKOs can save such an underwhelming. I didn't say it was bad. All I said was it was underwhelming. And it was the worst match of night 2. Which really, it doesn't really. That's not even a slight on the match. It's because the other matches on the card were that much better.
Yeah.
And one of those matches was even wasn't that the 6-man tag?
Yeah.
With the Street Profits and all that. Even that was great.
And the Less Than Spooky Pals? The less than spooky
Spooky
pals.
Aldi brand Spooky Pals.
And I love the Authors of Pain. And I loved Karrion Kross when he was in NXT. And then
Vince McMahon happened.
Yeah. Very sad.
It's a very, very
Stop
sad
me
day.
if you've heard this story before. They had a budding career and then Vince.
Just remember, Gunther was almost demoted before he won the Intercontinental Championship, and Max Dupree was almost fired.
Yeah?
Yeah. But instead, they're both
Speaking
Gunther.
of Max Dupree.
If you ain't talking about him, you ain't talking. Yeah. The megastar in his WrestleMania debut. I'm sorry, AJ Styles. This is the only situation I want to see you lose at WrestleMania in. They had a great match. I loved it. The only thing that sucked about the match was AJ Styles' new entrance song. It was awful. It was god awful. I don't even know what to say. I've been embarrassed and disgusted by a lot of wrestling songs over the years. This one might take the cake. Next to Kazarni's.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not like the dump truck backing up, garbage truck backing up song.
Man, why you gotta bring Duke Drosy in here, okay? Listen, 5,000 people listened to his entrance song in 16 years. I'm sure that's 4,973 more than they ever imagined because they figured I would at least listen to it 27 times.
Yes.
So, yes, you're right, but it wasn't good. His old song was really good. I enjoyed that one. Probably top 10 for me right now. Maybe top 5.
Yeah.
I don't know who the fuck this guy is that's doing their music for them. He's awful. He's god awful. Absolutely awful. Just horrible. They need to bring back.
I think they're farming it out to different people because, I mean, the person who did Roman's new song, I think the new song for Roman's awesome.
It's not the Durner, but it's, I like it, yes.
Yeah. Mike Rainey chiming in about the brawl at the hotel lobby with LA Knight. Yeah. And AJ Styles saying, I loved it.
It was a great
build-up.
The way
they built that storyline because they weren't giving them quite as much TV time because they had to devote it to The Rock. They had to devote it to Cody. They had to devote it to some of the other storylines. They did an awesome job of utilizing every platform available to them to make that match into something that everybody wanted to see. I think people wanted to see it, but they made it even more must-see in my view. And then absolutely. They went out there and had the match they had. I thought it was great.
Oh, I loved it. I was one of my low-key favorite parts of WrestleMania was the fact that they built the story the way they did. How they were beating the shit out of each other at the hotel lobby. How they were beating the shit out of each other in the fan access. How LA Knight was showing up to AJ Styles' house and getting into a fight, and the police are showing up. They did a great job building that. I enjoyed it. And they had a great match. My favorite match of night 2 was that match. I have to think about it.
I mean, it was not my favorite match of night 2, but it was number 2 or 3. Well, I mean, I'm going with the main event as my favorite match because it was Avengers Assemble, baby.
Okay, fair enough.
Avengers Assemble.
Okay, fine. LA Knight and AJ was my second favorite match. I keep thinking like I'm forgetting a match. I mean, we talked about the US, the 6-man tag. We talked about Drew. Oh, that's right. There was only 6 matches. This isn't like AEW Revolution, Evolution, Dish Detergent, whatever the hell their next pay-per-view is called, where they have 14 fucking matches in one night.
So specifically with this, I mean, Triple H is trying to gauge this as the most fan-friendly way he possibly can. He knows that a lot of those people may have to go to work tomorrow morning and having the show go until 12:30 and then having to figure out a way to get out of the stadium and get the hell home to be in work the next day. It's like, hey, let's finish this up. Let's have night 2 be 3.5 hours long. They could have had that last match go another like 15, 20 minutes if they felt like it. And really like sell it even more. But I mean, the match itself was still what 25, 30 minutes with all they did. And WrestleMania Night 2 was over at 10:30. I was color me shocked. I sat there looking at my watch, and I'm like, "Holy shit, it's over!"
And the way that they dragged it out too at the end after Cody won. Spoiler alert: Cody Rhodes won the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship in the main event. We'll get to that after we talk about my lock that actually finally hit at a pay-per-view. But like, I waited it out because they dragged this out. I'm like, he's coming out, right? Because this is what they're doing. This is what they did at Survivor Series. They dragged this out and they showed the logo and all this stuff. He's coming out, right? MJF's coming out. MJF is coming out. Where's MJF? MJF hasn't come out yet. I waited until 5 minutes after. They had whatever the show was on after. I was like, where's MJF? Where's Dustin? Why isn't Dustin in the ring? You let -1 get in the ring, but you wouldn't let Dustin Rhodes? And Ricky Starks? I can understand Ricky Starks. That's Dustin Rhodes. That's the natural.
Yeah.
That's future WWE, no question, first ballot Hall of Famer, Dustin Rhodes. Remember the name. Gold Dust. But honestly, like I enjoyed how they did it, but you and I both know that those Philadelphia Eagle fans, when they left there, they had to get home so they could be well rested so that when Santa Claus comes out in December, they can start pelting him with snowballs again.
Yes.
That joke is never going to get old with me. I don't care. But before we get into the main event, we have to give Bayley her flowers.
We do have to give Bayley her flowers.
Her and Io Sky had a tremendous match. I loved the hell out of that match. Those two delivered. Bayley had her moment. I cannot believe, again, this is another thing I can't believe I'm saying. I am so happy for Bayley right now. She deserved it just as much as Cody did to win the title, and Cody never won it. Bayley was the backbone of the women's division for a long time, especially after crybaby Sasha decided to take her ball and go home twice. Bayley has been a workhorse. Bayley has done everything they've asked of her. Bayley is just as much a big star as Becky and Charlotte Flair. And she finally had her moment. Her first one-on-one match, I believe it was at WrestleMania for a championship or whatever it was with her. Bayley deserved it, and I'm glad that she went over and won the title, especially because that was my lock of the pay-per-view.
I thought that they were going to keep with Io Sky just a bit longer with that title. I thought there was going to be possibly some chicanery, but I'm super happy for Bayley, for a lot of the pandemic. I mean, she carried the division.
Ding dong. Hello.
Her feud with Michael Cole is still one of the funniest things out there. And the morphing that she did from having the Bayley buddies to being the Karen who has to go ask for your manager and yell about what you have not done properly for her to running, damage control, bringing back these performers that had been exiled by Vince. I'm sorry, the dastardly Voldemort. But she helped bring them back and part of her faction and built up that faction, built up that storyline. And then when the rest of them turned on her, and you like, oh yeah, I knew what you were saying all along, and spoke perfect Japanese to them. And, it was all of them versus her, real David and Goliath, and you feel bad because she felt like the mother to the faction, and they turned on her. And quite honestly, this is what the Spooky Pals with Edge storyline should have been. Something longer term, where eventually there was a wedge that happened. The Spooky Pals have ended up on a good plane. Similar to what happened with Sheamus and Cesaro. I didn't like how they brought the bar together, but what they did to kind of right the ship after was great.
Oh, yeah.
What they did with the Spooky Pals, after they botched, getting Edge out of the faction, they righted the ship, but it took a little while. They did this perfectly with Damage Control to split them up and then give Bayley her moment, get her flowers, gave Io Sky the opportunity to be the women's champion for a bit because she deserved it. She carried the NXT women's division for quite a while.
Yep.
And she ended up having that match, what was it, about a year ago with Charlotte Flair on TV, where people were finally able, on the main audience, to see what we all knew, people who watched NXT, what we knew, that Io Sky was a main event level in talent in the ring.
Yes.
But they had a really good match, and they told a great story, more importantly.
Agreed. And Bayley, like I said, Bayley needed this moment. It was a great moment for her. They had a great match. Like you said, they did a great job of how they did the breakup, all of that. That was low-key one of my favorite matches of the entire weekend. I enjoyed the hell out of that, and I'm not disappointed I'm not really surprised or disappointed that the two of them delivered the way they did. It was just spectacular. It was tremendous. Greatest match I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then we get to Tribal Combat, the main event of night 2. The Tribal Chief Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. By the way, I thought it was interesting that the bell rang 9 minutes after Roman's entrance started on night 1. Because he started coming out to the ring, I think it was at 10:15 or 10:35, whatever it was, and then he came to it took him 9 minutes from bell to bell. Yep. I know they did the introductions and everything, but still.
And you want to talk about somebody that deserves her flowers, Samantha Irvin. I enjoyed her ring announcing before, but being in the crowd and hearing all of the little nuances in the certainly melodramatic, but it's pro wrestling. Yes. Show some emotion and bring some drama to it. Quite honestly, she got high praise from Michael Buffer, one of the most well-known ring announcers ever.
Most iconic.
And quite honestly, I think her presentation and how she emotes is very similar to his brother.
Yeah.
Bruce. And,
another goat.
But she is awesome.
Don't listen to what Brian Hebner says. He's basically, he's basically the Horace Grant of his family. He's not Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen. He's Horace Grant. People forget he played for the Chicago Bulls. Just like they forget Brian Hebner was actually a referee. They were like former WWE referee, and I went, when was Brian Hebner in WWE?
He was there for a while. I think it was from 2000 to 2006 when his father and his uncle got booted from WWE for selling merch. I think they took merch from WWE and sold it for profit.
He looks good, by the way.
I would have to double check that.
Earl Hebner looks good for his age. I saw him in, I forget which one of the Dark Side of the Rings ones. I don't think it was the Earthquake one. It might have been, it wasn't the Bagwell one. But he was in one of the Dark Side of the Rings. He looked really good for his age.
Yeah.
Earl Hebner, considering he was the referee for when Hulk Hogan body slammed the 700-pound Andre the Giant.
No. That was referee Joey Morella.
That's right. It was Joey
Screwed
Morella.
up the count. It was 10 months later at main event against Andre the Giant.
That's who it was. You're right. I apologize.
He did not slam the Giant that day.
He refereed, though, for Hogan and Warrior, at least.
I believe you're correct there. And I have to wonder, we have not heard a Hogan story about February 1988. How heavy was Andre, after having been dead for 9.5 months. You know,
ask L. Ron Hubbard, brother.
Yeah.
But you're right. Samantha Irvin deserves her flowers. I have enjoyed her work. She is the closest thing we've gotten to the Fink. I think she's. I agree with El Jefe, F. Mark's Hall of Famer, when he said that she's on there with like Lillian Garcia. I enjoyed Lillian. She was tremendous. I enjoyed her as an announcer. I really enjoy Samantha Irvin. She brings a different type of feel to it. Kind of like when Greg Hamilton, I think the guy was, when he was. Or no, Tony Chimmel used to do the Rated R Superstar. And Greg Hamilton did Hamilton did it with Shane McMahon.
What was his name? Mike Rome, who did Shane McMahon? Was it Mike Rome or was
Greg? It was Greg Hamilton. That's why I got it mixed up.
Greg Hamilton. Yeah.
He's the best in the world. And then he got canceled. Yeah. But anyway, the main event. We finally got it. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Tribal Combat. Solid match.
Yeah, the match itself, there were certain things that were not the greatest. Too many finishers, in my view. But again, this is storyline and this is sports entertainment. And it was the most sports entertaining match in my life. Because quite honestly, it was like watching the end of Avengers Endgame. Portals open up, and then all of a sudden, here comes the Black Panther. Here comes what you call it, Mr. Wizard World. Yeah. I'm blanking on his name.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. You know, you got all these people returning. You got Spider-Man coming back. That's what it felt like. Everybody and their mother was coming out.
Except
and we knew it. But it all fed into the story. It all made sense. Like, the people who came out didn't not make sense.
My biggest gripe, and it was a production thing for the whole thing. My biggest gripe was they kept showing the stage. I know that you're all new to this because you don't have a bucktooth beaver fuck telling you about dams and you're missing shots so you can shoot little Johnny in row 9 who's got his face deep in his popcorn as, you know, whatever reaction's happening. I know that you're all used to that with Bucky Beaver, but come on, man. Don't make it obvious. You must have made at least 12 shots to the ramp. And I'm like, of course Cena's coming out after Solo hit him with the spike. I knew it was coming. And of course they had to do the spike again. Of course they did.
They had to make you feel like he was going to get screwed over again.
And then here comes John Cena's music. He comes out. He's got the little towel in his face. He shows it.
Well,
probably should have kept the hat.
One thing I got to say about that before is we got a spear spike combo.
Yeah, we did.
Which looked really badass. But, you know, if you're talking about kind of burying finishers, it's like Cody was already dead, and then he took a double finisher, and he still kicked out. And I'll be like, all right, yeah, that's just Cody willing himself to get up, brother.
Wrong, Cousin Jay. That's Homelander kicking out. Stop it. Homelander is going to take a lot more than a spear and a Samoan spike.
My mistake.
I'm just saying, you and I have watched enough season of The Boys to know that it's going to take a lot more than a spear and a Samoan spike to take out Homelander. Last year, it was Cody Rhodes that was taken out by the spear in the Samoan spike. He acknowledged that he is now the Homelander.
Yes, but he said, I'm going to go full Homelander on his ass. And I quote.
And I'm telling you right now, the one thing I forgot, though, was Jimmy Uso was the first one to break up the count for Cody. And, of course, we get Jay Uso, who does his best Jeff Hardy impersonation as he's methodically rubbing his hands together as he's making his way to the ring. And then he goes and him and Jimmy go back and forth, and he hits another super kick because we didn't see enough of him on night 1.
Bro.
And then he speared him off the thing, and I was like, holy shit. Oh, there goes Jimmy. We're not going to see him now. And then that's when we got that. And then that's when we got, Solo getting in there, and we got the spike in the spear, and then, like you said, and then John Cena probably should have put the towel in the back of his head or kept the hat on. John, just embrace it. Lose the hair. You're losing it. It's bad. Wait, you got to just get rid of it.
He has enough money to actually get that fixed if he wants to.
And I just love the fact that he was there and he took out Solo and he FU'd him through the table and everything. And then we got The Rock.
And then he FU'd Roman.
Yeah, and then he goes and he attacks Solo before he puts Solo through the table. Is when he goes to Roman and he hits him like, here you go. It's kind of like in the Goonies when they're escaping the ship and they're all jumping off the ship into the water. And the blonde girl, she points up in the sky and Mama Fratelli looks in there and then she decks her for just no apparent. That's what that was. That's exactly what that FU from John Cena was to Roman Reigns, was just you're here. Ugh. And then The Rock came out and he had the face-to-face and he's got the face-to-face with Cena and The Rock takes out Cena. And I'm like, boy, they're making Cena look like a chump. Why don't we give him the chump? And then, The Rock's going to go in there and he takes his belt off and he's about to beat Cody. And I know that there was the thousands in attendance and the millions watching and millions watching home. We're all expecting the glass to break. But unfortunately, the money wasn't right. And instead of broken glass, Crimea River, we got the gong. And as hopeful as I was that Stone Cold, obviously The Rock's greatest rival in wrestling, next to a good script, as much as I wanted that, I still popped for The Undertaker. Let's be serious. And as much as great as it would have been nostalgia-wise for the rivalries of the 90s and the early 2000s between The Rock and Steve Austin, The Undertaker, that was kind of torch passing, if you think about it, because the old guard, the old leader of the locker room was The Undertaker, and he was the one who helped Cody. The true leader of a locker room, looking out for other true leaders of the locker room, just like CM Punk and Randy Orton said after they watched their video together from their match at WrestleMania 27, let's go lead this locker room together. We got ourselves the leader, with the leader helping him.
We did forget somebody here, though.
Oh, you're right. I forgot that Seth.
There was a Durner.
Seth freaking. Jay, you want to talk about? I didn't even see him come in. All I see is Roman reacting. Boom! Hit him with a Superman punch. I went, holy shit! I wasn't expecting that.
If you want to talk about somebody in general who's looked like a chump in the last couple of months, it's mostly been Seth Franklin Rollins.
I mean, you can't.
All that being said, it fed completely into the biggest story that they were telling that started 12 years ago.
You want to talk about long-term storytelling?
The one man the tribal chief did not defeat during his title run. He had a match and didn't beat him.
They're wrestling at 41 next year. I've never been more confident in anything else. If we're getting Cody and The Rock at WrestleMania 41 next year, we're getting Seth and Roman's. It's the main event of the other one. I don't care what anybody says. You could book it right now. I'm sorry, CM Punk. Shouldn't have gotten hurt. Shouldn't have gotten hit with that freaking the DDT from Drew McIntyre. Because you're not main eventing next year. It's Roman and Seth and Rock and Cody. Sorry. I'm not sorry.
Yeah?
But the fact that Roman had a chance to put away Cody and didn't and decided to hit Seth with the chair, causing yet again another distraction that cost somebody a championship, as Cody capitalized, hit him with 3 crossroads. 1, 2, 3. Cody Rhodes is our new world champion, or WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. He finished his story. The Rhodes family finally has a WWE champion, and it's Cody. The kid who bet on himself proved to WWE that he was the big star that he claimed he was. That they didn't see.
Couple things with this. So as far as it being Taker and not Stone Cold, I'm going to put all of this on Stone Cold Steve Austin for it not happening. Stone Cold Steve Austin has plenty of money to live out his life.
He's got his own beer.
If he wanted to make another magic moment in front of the fans, he could have. I'm sure they were not offering him peanuts.
Fair.
He could have said yes. I put this on Stone Cold for not making it happen. All that being said, if you're telling me like, hey, we don't have Stone Cold. Who would you want to be your next person? The Undertaker.
The Undertaker.
If you want to talk about the final boss, well, who the final boss is the man who puts you into the ground. The final boss got taken out by the other final boss.
If you think about this, them replacing Steve Austin with The Undertaker is you've replaced the number 1 guy on my Rushmore with the number 3 guy on my Rushmore. You could have brought any of those 4 guys. Hell, you could have brought any of the guys in my top 5. I mean, that would be impressive if Andre showed up, but you could have brought any of those guys in my top 5 and I would have been thrilled. Jericho could have showed up and I would have been thrilled. I would have laughed my ass off if Jericho showed up, but still.
All that being said,
but you're right about the
Cody
Undertaker
being able to finish that story, the fact that it was the Undertaker instead of Austin. I would have loved if it was Austin. I put the onus on Austin for this. Again, I'm sure it was not peanuts that they were offering Austin. He could have had himself another ginormous moment that people would have remembered for the rest of their lives, and he chose not to have it.
With The Rock.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We got to have that with The Undertaker. And then Roman Reigns. See, the whole thing psychologically for this story is he clung so tight to his family, to the bloodline, because of the betrayal all those years ago of Seth Rollins. So he felt that he needed to sit there and rule quite literally with a red iron fist.
Literally.
The blood red iron fist.
Yep.
And hold on so tight that they would not escape his clutches. But when he had Seth Franklin Rollins come with the old Shield music, in the old Shield gear, the last time we saw Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns like doing that was 10 years ago.
Royal Rumble.
They did. He that's right. He did wear the.
That was back when Seth was getting in everybody's head and he was doing all that shit and he was getting in Roman's head.
Anyway, yes. Beside the point.
But it was good. It made it work. Seth being there made everything work.
He knew that he was still in Roman's head from all those years ago, and it would be too much of a thing to pass up.
Yeah.
And he had to. He was this storyline's version of Jesus.
Yes.
He was the sacrifice for the ending of the bloodline.
He was Captain America, or he was Iron Man. He snapped the fingers. Technically speaking, that's what it was. He snapped the fingers. Roman snapped, hit him with the chair instead of Cody. He had a 50-50 shot of taking somebody. He took out half of the people, and it was himself. Seth Rollins jumped on the grenade for Cody. Cody capitalized and became Universal Champion. You can't write. Let's see AEW write something like that, huh? Can't pull AEW. WWE was just spectacular. One other thing I want to add real quickly. The best part about The Miz and R-Truth winning on Saturday. One of the matches I said they could have booked for WrestleMania. They didn't book for. But R-Truth wasn't just a WrestleMania moment. No. It extended for an entire long weekend. Because R-Truth on Monday got to team up with his childhood hero, John Cena, with The Miz as they battled the Spooky Pals. Spooky Pals.
That was a lot of fun.
I'm telling you right now, Jay, I don't think a human being had more fun this weekend than R-Truth.
The childhood dream
has come true. Yeah. But it was such a WrestleMania was great. Everything about it was just great. I enjoyed it. The pre-show with Big E and all them.
And it was cool. Like night one, I was there from like 5 o'clock until like 6:15 for the pre-show the first night, and I may have ended up on camera when they did one of the swooping shots over the crowd, because like I like quite literally was like right underneath that camera.
I'm gonna have to go back and look for you now.
So if during the pre-show, I think it would have probably been around 5:45 or 5:50.
Okay.
I would have possibly showed up on the pre-show. All that being said, after Cody wins, brings all the people into the ring, Samantha Irvin and Michael Cole sold it even better. Like legit, emotions for Cody. And when wrestling is done in the best possible way, it draws that out to you. And I always come back to WrestleMania 7 with Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man, and the beaten Macho Man getting beat up by Sister Sherry with the returning Miss Elizabeth. I never fail to like get goosebumps. I get like teary-eyed, and I'm like going, I know how it ends.
33 years later.
Like,
it's a great, one of the greatest moments of wrestling history. You can't argue with that.
So having Michael Cole getting choked up, having Samantha Irvin getting choked up, just added to the moment. Quite honestly, it reminded me a little bit when Kelly Clarkson won the first American Idol and she couldn't even sing the damn song.
Yep.
And you just sit there and you're like, ugh, you get that lump in your throat and you're like, damn, it's good to be alive. And that's what I felt like at the end of night 2 of WrestleMania. Damn, it's good to be alive.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
And a couple other things I got to say about WrestleMania. Philadelphia knows what the hell they're doing to try to get fans in and out of that damn place. I got to park at the stadium. It was about 3 hours before first bell. I did not wait in line at all to get parking. Not at all. I was expecting to have like 45 minutes of bumper to bumper dealing with that. Nothing. When I got out, Cousin Bobby, you and I have been at concerts where there have been 25,000 people and it took us 2.5 hours to get home. There were over 70,000 people there. It took me an hour.
Golly.
They know what the hell they're doing. They set it up right. They have, cops in the right spots, making sure that they bottleneck the traffic in the correct way. Yeah, there are buttholes who sit there and will cut you off and do things like, so they'll make it so cars cannot go on like an entire side of the road. So there'll be people who are like going on the wrong side of the road to cut everybody off. Yeah, there were still people like that, but they did an outstanding job of filtering people in and out, like freaking outstanding.
Well, they got to make sure nobody's around to pelt snowballs at Santa Claus.
Yeah.
That's good though. That's good. That's such good shit.
Yeah, and beyond that, I got to live out some of my childhood dreams while in Philadelphia also. I ended up driving back from Philly on Sunday. But before I left the city of brotherly love, I went a few short miles down the road. I got my picture taken with the Rocky Balboa statue, and I ran up the damn stairs of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, made famous by Rocky Balboa. I got to do that. And then I got a damn cheesesteak from Pat's.
Because
we have a good friend named Pat. I went between whether I'd go to Pat or Geno's, but I ended up at Pat's because of Pat.
True story. I know the person who gave them the idea for the Cheese Whiz.
Yeah?
I don't know how, but yeah. Or somebody, one of the places in Philadelphia, they actually did that.
So,
I don't know how.
It was freaking great.
That's good shit.
Mike Rainey in the chat saying he just watched the Warrior Savage match from WrestleMania 7. He said he got a little choked up too. It's so damn good. So damn good.
So good. Such good shit. Well, I mean, you did say the best way of doing wrestling and how to promote it. I think it's time we talk about the other end of the spectrum. Let's see how quick I can get a tism out this week. So, short story, to make a short story long, because that's a brainless recipe right there. Tony Khan and the Buckaroos were so upset about what CM Punk said in the Ariel Helwani interview. And it wasn't like CM Punk was going out there just to provoke this shit. He was doing an interview on a podcast and was asked a question. So he was answering the questions as unbiased and as straightforward as he could be without, beating around the bush. Well, of course, people got upset, mainly Tony Khan. So how do you think they would handle that? Just let it go? Do you think they just let it go, Cousin Jay?
No.
No, they didn't let it just go. No. Do you think they just took the high road and just said, screw you, Punk. Tune into Dynamite this week and you're going to watch Pentagon Jr. fight Adam Edge? No, they didn't do that either. What did they do instead?
They ended up saying, hey, let's promote AEW Dynamite, and we're going to promote it with backstage footage of the incident from Brawl In. And when they said they were doing this, there were only a couple of things that I thought that they could possibly do with this to make this make sense. It could be your way of reintroducing Jungle Jerkoff. Or CM Punk lied and they wanted to show that he was a liar and the things he said weren't true. Now, they tried an interesting way of getting into this to try to explain why they're showing footage of a man who has not been in the company for 8 months.
They said it was because they were wrestling FTR that day and that they had to put their EVP hats on and be big boys. And they're like, we can't, when we have our EVP hats on, we can't be professional wrestlers. And I'm like, geez, can you guys just be EVPs and not professional wrestlers then? Because as shitty as you are as EVPs, you're even worse as wrestlers. Anyway, they were making it seem like that incident is what cost them the match against FTR. So they blamed FTR for the incident happening, saying it was actually their idea. You were in cahoots, and that was all part of your plan. And then you showed a video. Boy, I'll tell you, Jay, I know that CM Punk isn't the most liked person in the world, and sometimes people like that don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. But did you see anything from that video that refuted anything he said other than he shoved Jungle Boy a little bit and kind of swung at him before he choked him out? I mean, other than that, being in that motion, like enraged over what somebody did or said to you, I could probably miss like a thing like that. And if, everything he said was true.
Everything he said was true, but to me, there are basically nobody in this video that, like, in my view, comes out actually looking good outside of Cassius Ohno and Samoa Joe.
Aleister Black. Because he came over and was trying to calm down CM Punk after the situation too. So
fair enough. But Punk, if you know, in the interview said he had 2 contracts with Tony Khan and more or less seemed like he wasn't an EVP, but was the man running the show on Collision. So he, a boss of some sort or a manager of some sort. If you have a manager go and assault one of your employees, that's bad. I mean, we all know CM Punk is a hothead and can't control his temper. Like, he should not be in a position of authority, clearly, ever. And I'm still waiting for the shoe to drop where somebody's going to say something to piss him off in WWE. And I hope it's somebody that, like, that'll put him in his place.
I don't think we're going to get that to happen. I really don't.
But like, CM Punk should have been the damn adult, and that's what I said all those months ago. He should have been the adult and said, you shouldn't do that shit. Stop being an asshole. I'm going to go out there and, you know, have my match, but you're a D-bag. He didn't need to get physical. If you're a manager and you're supposed to be there, you're supposed to be the person of reason. All that being said, Jack Perry antagonizing him was stupid. Tony Khan airing this footage is even dumber. The arena started erupting in CM Punk chants. And then after he choked Jack Perry, we got a thank you CM Punk chant for a man who is no longer in the damn company. When they have this match between FTR and the Young Bucks in St. Louis, they're going to be chanting CM Punk the whole match. If you want to talk about a dude who keeps on shooting himself in the foot with stupid idea after stupid idea, like, he bumped a rating for us. He got a 29, I think it was a 29% bump in the ratings. This is a short-term bump in the ratings that is going to end up being possibly the beginning of a death blow to the company unless his dad says, son, I'm just going to keep paying for your pet project here until oblivion.
See, I'm sorry.
It's just so stupid. He like shot himself in the foot there. In the chat, they're saying that the Bucks didn't really want to do this, but they felt obliged to. And allegedly, Will Osprey in the promo he cut later on was to oblige something for Tony Khan. Not really something he necessarily wanted to say. That's one thing I saw. All that being said, Tony Khan, like, you pop one rating and your ratings are going to go back to shit next week.
See, my biggest thing, and this is coming from somebody who I've worked at a couple of different locations over the years where I've actually seen management come to blows with actual employees. And we're talking about Fortune 500 companies that I worked at that happened at. Regardless, on the other hand, I don't put any of the blame on Punk. I'm sorry. If you actually had somebody, a guy with a set of balls that was running the company instead of a guy who wants to be friends with all the wrestlers and hug them and all this shit, this wouldn't have been an issue. But when your biggest star is coming up to you, a guy that you gave power to, a guy who you created a second show for, comes up to you and says, you got to fix this. You got to fix this situation. When you have multiple people that are going to this kid and saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, including Tony Schiavone. And the doctor for the company is telling you no. It shouldn't be on CM Punk to go and tell this kid. No means no means no. And if he doesn't have the support from management, what the hell is that? What is he supposed to do?
When you have this, like, after he told Jungle Boy not to do it, Jungle Boy said, yeah, okay, fine. And sounded like it was squashed, but then clearly it wasn't squashed. And I don't know if there was some chicanery going on behind the scenes where the Bucks ended up like reigniting whatever.
Oh, of course they did.
Piss him off. Tony Khan, in the end, is responsible for all of it. Punk was not a good actor here. He should be a veteran and lead like a veteran instead of, you know, acting like it's the fucking schoolyard. I mean, Jungle Jack Perry, like, now looks like a big freaking chump.
I mean, Jay, we can't really crucify him for that because, it was Kurt Angle, or not Kurt Angle, it was Kurt Hennig, the veteran that was fighting the youngster Brock Lesnar on a plane and almost killed him. Chris Jericho got into a scuffle with Brock Lesnar.
And by the way, Kurt Hennig got fired for that.
And he got fired for it. That's what should have happened with CM Punk. He was like, fire me. Do whatever what do you want me to do? I'm sorry. Herb Abrams Jr. needs to lay off the coke. They need to throw whatever kind of money that they have at Scott D'Amore and just make him the head of booking and all that stuff. And Bubba Ray Dudley even came out and said this was stupid that you guys did this. I have offered my help. There's so many people in the industry who have offered their help for AEW. They don't want it. I've even told them I'd offer my help for free. And if you think I'm doing this to gain clout, just remember on Tuesday on Sunday, and I can't believe I forgot about this to mention this during the WrestleMania recap. I on Sunday refereed a street fight in front of 70,000 plus people. I think I'm good. I don't know what this was the problem from the word jump. They were having this indie mentality and they didn't want to change that. And they found themselves a guy who has an unlimited amount of daddy's money that they can spend on stupid shit like exploding rings of death and exploding sneakers and have it just blow up in their face because it's stupid. And now we have ourselves subjected to this shit because we got a guy who has no, like CM Punk said, the most truthful thing he said. He's a nice guy. He just has no idea what he's doing. He's not a boss. This is a comedy show and you're a clown. I am sorry. You can't be doing shit like this. When Tony Schiavone at ringside is reacting the exact same way he did during Bash at the Beach 2000, there's something wrong. And it's not with Tony Schiavone. And it's not because of CM Punk. For the love of God, the two people who have popped the highest number rating-wise on Wednesday for AEW were CM Punk and Sheldon Cooper. 981,000 people tuned in. Bullshit. Over 100,000 of those people don't realize the Big Bang Theory is over, and then they look down from their phones and they see two jackasses dressed like the California Raisins coming out and just super kicking everybody and their brother. I've turned off the TV too. Every time those two fuckheads are on the TV, I was turned it off. But this is not
off is super freaking petty.
It's stupid. It shouldn't have happened.
Unnecessary.
What was the?
It doesn't
what was
further
the
storyline. They're going to chant CM Punk's name during this match. The crowd is going to take over. Because guess what? Like, yeah, they're not in Illinois, but they're in a Midwest state. They're going to chant for CM Punk loudly. It's going to blow up in his face. I mean, did you see the lighting that they had for Dynamite on Wednesday? They had to light in a way to not showcase that there are a bunch of empty seats. Like, not even in the second deck. Like, we're talking the first deck. And just, like, but you keep on doing stuff like this, and you're trying to placate to this very small niche of the audience that we're probably popping for and all excited to see it. I mean, I tuned in to watch it just to see what the hell was going to go on.
Yeah, I'm part of the 880,000 people.
But I'm not going to tune back in next week.
It's the most
this
Dynamite.
Did nothing to further this storyline. All it did is make it look like a petty, small,
sad attempt
at getting back at CM Punk. And when you continually talk about the other guy, that means you're not focusing on the stuff you're supposed to be doing. You're not focusing on the things you are actually good at.
100. Actually, it should be 100. 100, I agree. Cousin Jay, 100%. Agreed. This did absolutely nothing. And it's even going to be better because not only during the match, wait until the scapegoat comes back and they start chanting for CM Punk. Then what are you going to do, Tony Khan? You popped the number and then you were excited about, hey, look at the bump in our ratings. Are you fucking kidding me? You shouldn't even count that first 15 minutes. Because like I said, there's not enough people who watch Big Bang Theory that are like, ew, what is this? And turn off the TV. So they get
took
that
steroids for 1 week. They took rating steroids for 1 week, and it's going to wear off. And then the stink that's going to come from this is going to make, like they may get another deal and they may last for a little while longer, but if they make many more decisions like this, they're just done.
2 years. Calling it now, 2 years. They're going to be out. If they keep this shit up, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt by saying 2 years.
And this was not the end of it. Will Osprey came out and cut a promo. And again, this has absolutely zero to do with his storyline, but he cut this promo. Allegedly, Tony Khan was the one who wanted him to say this, but Triple H in an interview during WrestleMania week didn't say any names, just said, there are some people that out there that, don't prefer to work the schedule we have and prefer to, wrestle a time or two a week. And that's fine. That's good for them. But, for WWE, we got the grind. And if you're not ready for the grind, you're not our type of people.
Right.
He didn't mention any name at all. There have been a bunch of people recently that opted for AEW over WWE. He could have been talking about any of them. But you had Will Osprey go out there and talk about how Triple H, he didn't call him Triple H, but he just said, yeah, you got people out there saying X, Y, and Z. I'm out here trying to put on the best match for these fans every time I go out here. And that's what I do. You have no idea why I do this or what, and going on and on. And I didn't have to bang the boss's daughter to get where I'm at, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And then he proceeds to do the least smooth transition of all time into talking about his match against Bryan Danielson. There was no need to bring Triple H into this at all. Again, it makes your company seem minor league and small if you continually bring up the other person. Triple H did not talk about AEW. Quite honestly, when Triple H brings up something like that, hey, you know what? People make choices in life. Quite honestly, I bet Sting is a much better father than Stone Cold Steve Austin was to his kids. And that's because Sting had a lesser schedule and could actually be there for his children.
Right.
Do you want to be a good father if that's what Will Ospreay's trying to do, or a good family man, or do you want to, fame, fortune, and money? Now, some people have been able to do both, but most haven't. Some people have been able to do both. All that being said, him doing that, again, was just to get a cheap pop out of that crowd and out of the people who are diehard AEW people. It did zero to bring his storyline with Bryan Danielson anywhere forward. Right. It was a wasted line and wasted time.
Refresh my memory, Cousin Jay, as you and I have both watched wrestling for well over 30 years, individually over 30 years. Doesn't it remind you of another wrestling promotion that ran from the 90s until the early 2000s that used to mention WWE all the time when they were competing against them on Mondays and Thursdays?
Yeah.
Wasn't it WCW? Hell,
yeah.
I distinctly remember one NWO promo where Ted DiBiase said, "Fuck Vince." They did this shit all the time in WCW. They want to sit here and people are telling me that he's not Vince Russo. Really? Look at all the dumb ideas that he's got. Thanks, guys. And then he cuts a freaking stupid promo that means nothing and then books freaking Ray Phoenix versus John Moxley for the 8 millionth time, because why not? Because for whatever reason, Moxley likes to work with Phoenix and vice versa. The guy is Herb Abrams with an unlimited budget. He's I would say that he is Vince Russo, but neither one of them has a brain. And that's coming from a guy who's brainless. Jay, if he doesn't get somebody in there to change this whole atmosphere and all the stuff for AEW, it's not going to be good. Because if he keeps running this and he's doing the football shit and he's doing the Jaguars shit and all the other crap that he is involved in, and he's running himself this thin while booking 37 wrestling shows and arguing with people on Twitter who don't like AEW, it's not going to last more than 2 years. It's just not. He's going to do something even stupider. or he's going to say something stupid, or they're going to just keep poking the bear, and WWE is just going to be like, okay, and that's it, and then they put him out of business.
Chris Brown said both Bischoff and Cornette have ripped Tony Khan a new ass for what he did on Wednesday.
I have to listen to
Cornette. And deservedly so. Again, it did zero to push forward any storyline. They attempted to do these storyline gymnastics to make it fit. It clearly was just a man with thin skin's attempt to try to embarrass CM Punk, where more or less it just, again, I would not say exonerated CM Punk, but said everything CM Punk said happened as it did, as he said it.
I give him, if anything, I give him respect for the fact that he was actually able to go out and be openly about it, as opposed to let's just sign NDAs and just keep it quiet. And that's the reason why. And the fact that AEW was going in there and having the interview with Punk and Ariel Helwani taken down for copyright infringement? Are you kidding me? He is the pettiest man. I've never seen anybody pettier in professional wrestling, and I've been a wrestling podcaster for nearly 8 years.
And there was a dastardly owner of WWE
that
was extremely petty. I don't know if I'd put Tony Khan above that person.
Go ahead, say his name. It's fine. For this context, I allow it.
Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon's super petty. But as far as this, I would say Tony Khan, I think, has some years of catching up in the petty game. But this was, I mean, just, again, super thin-skinned and just so weak. Weak.
Yeah? I agree.
Anyway.
That's really all the notes I have for this week. Do you have anything else, Cousin Jay?
A couple quick things. We are getting WWE draft at the end of the month. Clearly, we're getting Braun Breaker to the main roster because he said his goodbyes to NXT. Mick Foley has dropped out of his final match, thank God, because more or less he said while he was training, soft training, comparatively speaking, to a match, he got a concussion and was like, maybe it's a bad idea for me to do this. And we did get a vignette of a returning goat. Whether or not that returning goat will be coming up in the next week or two, or if we're getting that returning goat at the draft, Sheamus will be making his return.
It's a shameful thing. Lost her head. A careless man. Yeah. No, I'm going to be the happiest person when that dude comes out. Everybody knows it. Every time Sheamus comes out, every vignette, every time he's out there, the happiest person on planet Earth is his biggest fan, the Brainless one.
And Seth Rollins is on hiatus. Good for him. He earned it. He deserves it.
Yes.
Have fun, Seth. Enjoy your daughter. Go home, rest up, and get yourself ready for another run.
As you wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania next year.
All right. Brainless one, what do you want to get into now?
I guess I'll tell you, because I know that you have. I
got places to be.
So I'm just going to post my top 10. I'm just going to write it on the Facebook page.
Sure.
So we could skip that for this evening. All I got left is my good, bad, and Brainless.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that we were going to talk about WrestleMania and coked out Tony Khan, and that's all we needed to talk about. That's all I wrote down for my notes. WrestleMania and Nose Candy Khan. And my good, bad, and Brainless, and my, all the other information.
Yeah.
So it is time for the good,
the bad, and the
Brainless. All right, Cousin Jay, what do you got for your good this week?
I mean, as much as I could go in many different directions, I could go with Cody finishing the story. I could go with WrestleMania in general. I could go with the fact that Philadelphia knows what the hell to do to get people in and out of their damn venues. I could go with all of that stuff, but in the end, I really do need to go with Cody finishing the story. This is a long-term sell, long-term play. Cody Rhodes did over $1 million of merchandise WrestleMania weekend. Nobody else was close to him. He was more searched than The Rock was after WrestleMania. Cody finishing the story the way they brought it all together, all those different components. It's my good. It was great.
So it wasn't just your good, it was your great.
It was my great. It's not going to be mark out moment of the year because all the great things that have happened since January 1st,
nothing
with the television production side of things, I'm sorry. There's so much good that happens every week because of that momentous day.
The only thing that's even considered for me is that if at any point Sheamus wins the Intercontinental title, that's going to be the only thing that unseats whatever is already set up for my mark-out moment of the year. But I agree with you. I'm going to say I have a great this week. And it's R-Truth. Because not only was R-Truth great in the tag team match, he had the moment. He was the one that pulled down the tag team titles, giving him his first win at WrestleMania. It was also because 2 nights later, he teamed up with The Miz and a partner that not many people can see. Obviously, I was thinking it was going to be Little Jimmy. It's fine. I wasn't as disappointed with Little Jimmy showing up or not showing up like I was with Steve Austin not showing up on Sunday. However, John Cena coming out, R-Truth teaming up with his childhood hero, getting the victory against the Spooky Pals. Got to give it to R-Truth. I'm sorry. And this is so crazy that since he's returned, R-Truth has been hammering my good a lot. So I have to give him my great F and Marks Hall of Famer R-Truth.
Yeah. Everybody in the chat is unanimous with Cody in finishing the story being the good.
And honestly, this isn't me any slight on Cody winning it. I'm very happy for Cody. I held back tears after he won the championship on Sunday. I'm not taking anything away from Cody. You know me. Unless it's something I'm like, I have to do this, I like to think outside the box and give it to somebody like R-Truth just because it's R-Truth, for crying out loud. That's all I got to say.
All
Here's
right.
a go. What do you got for your bad?
My bad, I have to go with the Usos. We had a great build-up over many years, and we're finally getting the payoff. This was not Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. It could have been. This was not even Matt Harvey versus Jeff Harvey.
Oh, yeah.
This was bad. This was bad. Too many super kicks. As much as like the stuff going on in the crowd, the everybody in the stadium chanting "Yeet." That was great. This match was not what it needed to be. That was my bad this week.
It was better than the 3/4 of a star that it received for a rating, just because it's better than half of the matches Chris Jericho has had over the last 2 years, and it was better than Cena in Theory from last year. But I agree, this was my bad. There was no other match that I could have given this my bad, and it's because I had to give 2 my Brainless this week. But yes, I agree. The Usos and their underwhelming performance at WrestleMania got my bad this week.
All right, Chris Brown is saying Will Osprey not having the balls to tell Tony Khan for giving the promo he gave. And then Tim saying Stone Cold not making the deal to appear at WrestleMania is his bad. Brainless, I mean, we know what it is.
It's 2 people though, right? It's not just it's a tie this week because I gave it to 2 people.
Tony Khan, you get this for deciding to air this video. The video did nothing for you. Actually, you popped a number for 1 week, and now you're going to get CM Punk chants throughout the arenas. A man from another company.
That you fired. It was your biggest star. Because
he deserved to be fired. He deserved to be fired, to be fair.
To be fair, that's fine. He deserved to be fired. But so should have the entitled little prick.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, quite honestly, the Bucks and Kenny probably should have been fired for the stuff that happened before. All that being said, Tony Khan, I'm sorry, this is Brainless beyond belief.
It's just a shame that there's more Brainless stuff that's happened this year, and we still have at least 7+ months of Hulk Hogan opening his mouth to deserve the Brainless moment of the year. I agree with you. Tony Khan does get it. However, I have to give some of that to Brian Hebner for coming out there and saying all those things that he said about Samantha Irvin, saying that she's cringe. I have to turn the mute button on when she's talking. Really? Michael Buffer, who's a GOAT in the broadcasting industry, likes her work and commends her all the time, always says something about her, always endorsing her. I'll take his word over yours. You're a forgotten referee from the WWE and TNA days, Brian Hebner. Nobody gives a shit about you. And just like Samantha Irvin said, oh my God, I was today years old when I found out that Earl Hebner had a son who was a referee too.
That's New Bedford in her, baby.
And I'll tell you right now.
New Bedford.
Yeah, New Bedford. With her Kentucky boyfriend.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you like what you've seen, whether you are a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on X, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, M-A-R-K. That's the F and Marks. If you like following us, subscribe to us. We will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra, and make sure you set up notifications so that when we are live, you will be notified that when we are live, whether it's on the X, on the Facebook, or on the YouTube. We are also on Spotify, so you can take the show on the road with you.
I don't know how to do
so
Spotify.
You can listen and or join in on the conversation about our favorite sport we all love to hate.
All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I switched it up. No Jets football this week.
Yeah.
And I can't really talk shit about teams anyway because the Red Sox suck.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's
nothing
everything,
else
right?
to talk about. Nothing else to talk about at all.
Except for one thing. Really, Curtis Axel. And what is that one more thing that we have to talk about? Well, Brainless Uno. Or, oh my God, I got my name wrong. Jesus Christ, I'm like Toby when he calls himself Tony. Anyway, Brainless One, did you know that today, April 12th of 2024, at an astonishing 3,365 days, I, FM Marks Hall of Fame, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. And for the fact that I got my name wrong, I am the clubhouse leader right now for next week's episode for Brainless for the week.
But we still have 7 days of Tony Khan to change our mind.
And Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Anyway, for episode 355 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, the FM Marks.
I'm Jay. He is.
And I am the Brainless One. And you make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everyone. Have a good week. We will catch up with you soon.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah?